There is a sacred rule we are taught from the moment we are born. It's a belief so foundational, it feels less like an idea and more like gravity. Family is everything. We are told in 1,000 different ways that no matter what happens, no matter the pain or the neglect, the bond of blood requires our unconditional loyalty. You must forgive. You must endure. You must, above all, stay. This rule is rooted in our most primal instinct for attachment, the knowledge that a child's survival depends on connection. But this sacred rule, this powerful gravitational pull, forces many of us to live with a terrifying and often forbidden question. A question we barely dare to whisper even to ourselves. What if the people meant to build you up are the very ones holding you down? What if the place you call home is also the source of your deepest, most invisible wounds? And what if the love you've been taught to accept is actually a sophisticated, unspoken system of control? If that question sends a flicker of recognition through you, know that you are not alone, and you are not a bad person for asking it. Today, we are going on a difficult but necessary journey. We will explore the silent rules and the hidden emotional contracts that govern dysfunctional family systems. This isn't about assigning blame or cultivating hatred for our families. In fact, it's the opposite. It's about seeing them and ourselves with a radical healing clarity. It's about understanding that what we call loyalty is often a brilliant childhood adaptation, a strategy our younger self developed to survive and maintain connection at all costs. But that same strategy, carried unconsciously into adulthood, can become a cage. As the great psychiatrist Carl Jung taught, the first and most crucial step toward liberation is not rebellion, but awareness. It is the courage to finally look at the dynamics that have shaped you and say with compassion, but also with firmness, this is not okay. It's about finally reclaiming the sacred right to your own life, your own mind, and your own future. To understand why leaving these dynamics, even just psychologically, can feel so impossible, we need to stop seeing a family as just a collection of individuals. We need to see it for what it truly is. An emotional system. Let's use a concept from family systems theory. Imagine a family as a delicate mobile hanging over a crib. Each person, you, your parents, your siblings, is one of the hanging figures, suspended in a complex web of connection. The entire system is exquisitely designed to maintain a perfect, silent balance. This is called homeostasis. As long as every piece hangs exactly where it's supposed to, according to the system's unspoken rules, there is a kind of calm. But what happens when one person, you, starts to grow? When you begin to think for yourself, to heal, to move in a new direction? The moment you shift, the entire mobile begins to shake violently. The other pieces don't celebrate your movement. They feel the instability as a threat. And the system's primary, unconscious goal is to pull you back into your original position, to do whatever it takes to restore the old, familiar balance, even if that balance was profoundly unhealthy. Even if that balance was organized around silence, denial, or pain. And this is the crucial insight. Those unacceptable behaviors we feel, the sudden guilt trips, the sharp criticism, the subtle emotional manipulation, are not just random acts of unkindness. They are the system's powerful, automatic defense mechanisms trying to pull you back in line. They are the strings of the mobile, yanking you back to your designated spot. So the conflict you feel isn't just in your head. It's not just you being too sensitive. It is you, as an individual striving for wholeness, against the invisible, gravitational pull of your entire family's emotional history. You are not fighting a person. You are fighting patterns. So let's look at one of the most common and most exhausting roles written by these family systems: the emotional caretaker. Does this sound familiar? Imagine a woman named Anna. Since she was a little girl, Anna has been the family's emotional thermostat. When her mother is anxious, it's Anna's unspoken job to soothe her. When her father is angry, it's her job to absorb his rage, to be the calm in the storm. As a child, she was praised for this. "Oh, Anna is so mature for her age," they'd say, "so understanding." She learned that her value, her goodness, came from this ability to manage the emotional chaos around her. But in adulthood, this role becomes a prison. When Anna wants to make a choice for herself, perhaps move to a new city for a dream job, the system's guilt machine whirs to life. Her mother might say, her voice trembling with hurt, "How can you leave me after everything I've done for you?" Now, this isn't a simple expression of sadness. From a Jungian perspective, this is a form of psychic possession. The parent's unresolved anxiety, their own deep-seated fear of abandonment, is projected onto Anna. She is then unconsciously tasked with managing those feelings for them. This dynamic, where a child is forced to take on the emotional responsibilities of an adult, is also known in psychology as parentification. And Anna feels crushed by the guilt. Why? Because her entire nervous system was wired from infancy to believe that her worth, and indeed her safety, are dependent on her ability to keep others calm. To her, saying yes to her family feels like an act of love. But the brutal truth is that every yes to their emotional needs requires a no to her own life. She slowly realizes she is not seen as a daughter, an individual with her own dreams. She has become a function, a tool for the system's emotional regulation. Her role is to keep the mobile steady, even if it means her own figure never gets to dance. Now let's look at another, often more painful, role cast by the family system: the scapegoat, the one often called the black sheep. This is the person in the family who is, for one reason or another, fundamentally different. Imagine a young man named Ben. Ben is creative, sensitive, and he naturally questions the family's rigid, unspoken traditions. His uniqueness isn't celebrated as a gift. It is treated as a problem to be solved. He is met with a constant barrage of criticism, all carefully disguised as concern. "Why do you always have to be so different? That career choice is too risky. We're just worried about you. You're embarrassing us." In Jungian psychology, this is a classic and devastating case of shadow projection. The family unit, unable or unwilling to face its own disowned parts, its own fears, its secret envies, its failed dreams, unconsciously projects them onto Ben. He becomes the designated carrier for everything the family refuses to acknowledge in itself. His ambition reminds them of their own stagnation. His emotional sensitivity highlights their own numbness. He is not being criticized for who he is. He is being punished for holding up a mirror to what they are not. And for a long time, Ben internalizes this. He believes something is fundamentally wrong with him. But the great heroic journey of individuation that Jung described is precisely this: the difficult, courageous process of retrieving your true, authentic self from the projections of the collective, including your own family. Ben's desire to be himself isn't an act of rebellion. It is a sacred, instinctual drive toward wholeness. It is his soul trying to be born. And this reveals a heartbreaking truth. Anyone, family included, who demands that you dim your light so that they can feel more comfortable in their own shadows, does not truly love the real you. They love the version of you that makes them feel safe, the version that doesn't challenge their illusions. And that, as a foundation for love, is never enough. So what happens when the gear in the machine finally refuses to turn? What happens when the caretaker stops caretaking, or the scapegoat refuses to carry the family's blame? The system, in a word, panics. Let's imagine Anna, after a lifetime of soothing, finally says, with a steady voice, "Mom, I love you, but I'm taking that job and moving." Or Ben, after years of absorbing criticism, says, "I understand you don't approve of my career path, but I am going to pursue it anyway." These are not declarations of war. They are declarations of self. And this is the moment of rupture. It's the moment a character goes off script, and the family system will often escalate its tactics to force them back into character. The guilt trips become more intense. The criticism becomes sharper. Other family members may be enlisted as what psychologists sometimes call flying monkeys, sent to talk some sense into you. They may even rewrite history, painting your act of self-preservation as one of selfishness or betrayal. It's crucial to understand this isn't necessarily because they are evil. It's because you have threatened the system's very foundation, its fragile homeostasis. And its unconscious survival instinct is to eliminate the threat, which in this moment is your autonomy. This moment is terrifying. On a deep physiological level, it can feel like you are betraying everything you've ever known. Your nervous system, which learned from infancy that attachment equals survival, might be screaming that you are about to be abandoned, cast out into the wilderness alone. This is the echo of our most primal fear. But this is the crucial turning point. This is the sacred, terrifying threshold of the hero's journey. It is the moment you must choose. You must choose between the familiar comfort of the system's approval, the safety of your known prison, and the terrifying, uncertain, but breathtaking freedom of your own authentic life. This brings us to the most powerful and perhaps most painful realization of all. After years, sometimes decades of trying to fix, to heal, to be understood, you finally arrive at a stark and unavoidable truth. You cannot heal a dysfunctional system by sacrificing yourself to it. Your self-abandonment is not the price of their healing. It is the very fuel that keeps the dysfunctional machine running. To stay in your assigned role, the caretaker, the scapegoat, the eternal peacemaker, is to unconsciously agree to keep the system in its state of arrested development. You become the ballast that keeps the broken ship level, but it is still sinking. The most truly compassionate act you can perform is not to stay and suffer with them, but to model a different way of being. Think of it like this. You are on a sinking ship with your family, a ship heavy with the unprocessed, generational trauma of the past. You can all hold hands and go down together, bound by a tragic and misguided sense of loyalty. Or you can find the courage to get into the lifeboat, to save yourself, to begin the difficult work of rowing to a safe shore. From the ship, your departure will look like the ultimate betrayal. They will likely scream that you are abandoning them. But here is the truth they cannot see. You are not just saving yourself. You are becoming a lighthouse. Your survival, your peace, your wholeness proves that a shore exists. You are showing them that another way is possible, even if they are not yet ready or willing to take it. This is the ultimate reframe. Psychologically leaving the system, the act of what family systems therapists call differentiation, is not an act of abandonment. It is the highest, most difficult form of love. It's a love that honors your own life enough to say, this generational cycle of pain ends with me. And it's a love that, paradoxically, honors them enough to believe that they too have the capacity to save themselves. even if they never choose to. And so we arrive at the shore. The journey out of a family's emotional gravity is the slow, steady path from being a function within a system to becoming a sovereign individual. It is not, in the end, about anger. It is about clarity. It is not about rebellion. It is about profound self-respect. It's about finally, deeply understanding that your peace is not a betrayal of them. It is your sacred birthright. On this path, you learn one of the most vital lessons of emotional maturity, that you can love someone deeply and still say no to their behavior. You can honor your past and all that it has taught you and still refuse to be imprisoned by it. You learn that love and boundaries are not opposing forces. They are two sides of the same coin. A boundary is the loving act of protecting the relationship from the poison of resentment. You come to realize that you are not and have never been merely a character in their story, the good daughter, the rebellious son, the peacemaker. Those were roles. Your true nature is that of the author. You are the author of your own life, holding the pen with a blank page waiting for you every single morning. That authorship begins with a single conscious act of questioning the old script. So I will leave you with this to reflect on, a question to hold gently in your mind. What is one unspoken rule in your family system that you have always been afraid to break? Maybe the rule is don't outshine your father, or don't upset your mother, or don't talk about the secret. Just identify one and then ask yourself, what might happen? What new story might begin if you did? I know the topics we discussed today are incredibly personal and they can bring up a great deal. So before we end, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the courage it takes to even sit with these ideas, to look at these patterns in our own lives. This work of untangling ourselves from the past, while deeply individual, doesn't have to be done in isolation. If this video resonated with you or offered a moment of clarity, please consider clicking the like button. It does more than just help the algorithm. It sends a quiet signal to others that they are not alone in this struggle. It helps us create a visible space where these difficult but vital conversations are seen and valued. And if you feel comfortable, I would be honored if you would share a thought in the comments. You absolutely do not need to share personal details, but perhaps you could share one insight you gained today, or one feeling that came up for you. In a world that so often demands silence around family pain, simply bearing witness to one another's journey is a powerful act of collective healing. Your quiet courage to reflect might just be the permission someone else needs to begin their own journey toward freedom. Thank you for trusting me and for trusting yourself with your time and attention today. If you'd like to continue exploring the path to psychological freedom and wholeness, please subscribe and turn on notifications so we can walk this path together. Be gentle with yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video.